your company is looking to quickly lower life cycle carbon emissions in your fleet, you should consider using higher blends of biodiesel. Welcome everyone to another webcast from Chevron. I'm Julie Haverly, Integrated Go-to-Market at Chevron, and I'll be hosting this webcast that discusses the benefits of incorporating higher blends of biodiesel into your fleet operations. As companies consider long-term lower carbon fuel options, biodiesel is a great choice. Incorporating higher blends of biodiesel is one way to accelerate your lower carbon journey. I'd like to introduce one of Chevron's experts, Dave Slade, to talk about the benefits of using higher blends of biodiesel. Dave, could you start with a quick introduction before we get kicked off?
Sure, Julie. Glad to be here with you today. So my name is Dave Slade. I'm Chief Technologist at Chevron Renewable Energy Group, and I have about 17 years experience with producing and implementing biodiesel in the field, and I'm excited to help explain some of the ways that we can use more of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Dave. Always good to talk to you about biofuels. My first question for you today, when we talk about higher blends of biodiesel, what blend rate makes sense?
This is a big question. It depends on the customer. There can be an easy answer and there can be a more it depends answer. I think a lot of people in the US consider B20, which is a 20% blend of biodiesel and petroleum diesel, to be kind of a maximum, or maybe I've even heard people use the term blend wall. However, we don't see it that way, and we have plenty of customers who have proven that there's no real limitation on the amount of biodiesel that can be used. I think that one of the things to keep in mind is that biodiesel has some big advantages and some disadvantages, mainly on the cold flow side of things. So a lot of people will limit their biodiesel inclusion in the dead of winter in Minnesota and Illinois and Iowa and some of these cold weather states. But in warmer weather, there's really no technical reason to limit your blend. The EPA, for example, has deemed blends of biodiesel up to B100 to be legal fuel, so there's not a restriction on a regulatory standpoint, with one exception being the state of California. California has a lot of their own rules, so you can disregard what I'm talking about, blends above B20, if you're a California fuel user. But in the rest of the country, there aren't any regulatory restrictions against blends above B20. So one of the key things we have had to do to get confidence in recommending blends above B20 and supporting our customers to use more than 20% biodiesel is improve the quality of the product. And this hasn't just been Chevron Renewable Energy Group, it's been the entire North American biodiesel industry, but we've had really big advances in quality over the last 15 years. And we now feel much more comfortable recommending that customers who want to do more, and by do more, I mean reduce their carbon intensity more or improve their emissions benefits more by reducing those harmful emissions even further, that it's okay to consider using blends above B20, and that we'll be there the whole way with you, making sure you have a good experience. So high quality biodiesel has really enabled the possibility of blending above B20 in the US.
So today's high quality biodiesel then allows for safely blending above B20. What are some of the other benefits of using higher blend rates?
Right. And that's where you get back to the kind of the intrinsic benefits of biodiesel. So as we've talked about from a carbon intensity standpoint, it's made from biogenic carbon, so it automatically reduces your fossil carbon emissions. And of course, the more you use, the more you reduce your emissions. Likewise, we talk about particulate matter emissions reductions with biodiesel. It's great at lowering PM reductions. The more you use, the more you reduce your emissions. Hydrocarbon emissions, carbon monoxide, these harmful emissions that the EPA regulates and people are concerned about, particularly in areas where people live or work. The more of biodiesel you use, the more you reduce those emissions. And lubricity is the other big benefit for biodiesel. And of course, at some point, you've maximized your lubricity benefit. But generally, if your engine is running with a more lubricating fuel, it will run cooler and quieter, and it should be easier on all the parts. So in that regard, more biodiesel is better too. I'll throw one more thing on there. The diesel particulate filters, I mentioned particulate matter reduction, but the reason that matters in modern diesel engines isn't because those particulate matter emissions are leaving the tailpipe because they have a diesel particulate filter that will capture them, but that diesel particulate filter has to burn off any particulates it collects over time, and sometimes even has to be removed and cleaned out. So having a fuel with much lower particulate matter emissions can result in fewer DPF regenerations and also fewer DPF services, which cost you money and require having that truck taken out of service.
Thank you, Dave, for sharing these insights on the benefits of incorporating higher blends of biodiesel into your fleet operations. We're starting to see more and more customers incorporating higher blends into their operations. And it really is accelerating lower carbon journeys for companies. And so our sales team is available to answer additional questions that you might have about increasing biodiesel in your fuel. Be sure to watch these series of webcasts to learn more why incorporating lower carbon fuel solutions into your operations can be a really quick step for reducing your life cycle carbon emissions and learning about the benefits of biomass-based diesel fuels.